Hey guys, G here with a bit of an update on the Mirage. Been kicking off a few goals and a few jobs in the background, so I thought I'll give you a bit of an update and see where we're all at with everything. Well, as you can see, she's a rolling here. We've got a bit of poke hanging out there. Yeah. So those wheels are sticking about 50mm out of the guards at the moment, but on that, I've got some wheel flares coming, so I'm gonna trim this all out to fit the wheels in nicely. Sort all that out. Then obviously you got the rear end, still got the little 14s hanging on there, but I've got a plan for that too, so that's coming later. So let's see how we did all this to make this work. So the biggest thing, obviously, is I needed the track width, the same as the 380 there in the background for all the drive shafts to work. So the standard Mirage track width is 1400 inside to inside, and the 380 is 1540, so there's a 60mm difference per side. So I had to cut and weld the control arms 60mm wider each side and space all the hubs out to suit. I'll show you all that now. Alright, now with the wheel off, I'm going to show you what's been done to make all this work. So first things first, obviously I've had to extend the control arm there and weld the plates top and bottom, and then that's the 380, that's the 380 section there that I've extended the 60mm, and then it can bolt straight up to the 380 hubs to make all that work. On top of that, obviously everything turns, works as it should. I made these big plate extenders out of 5mm plate and some 20mm 2 plate in there to extend the bolt positions further out for the shock. But I do have another plan for that too, because I've got some coilovers coming to sort all this side of things out. As for the rack, got that sussed out too. Obviously the sway bar still bolts in there. I've got some extenders coming. These are just temporary, these ones. I've just knocked them up so I could move the car around. But I've got some G-Tech ones coming. Some drifter ones for a Sylvia, I think they are. And they'll extend the rack ends 60, 70mm, give me all the adjustment I need to wheel align this thing. And I've also got cut camber slots into the bracket so I can adjust the camber of the wheels. And I will be getting some better lock washers to lock it all off, obviously. But, and the other issue I had is the CV boot under here wasn't clearing the control arm down there. So you can see we've got some clearance now, but I had to make some spaces up here and space the subframe down 10mm. That gave me ample clearance for when the engine moves around and things like that. So that's all sorted. All right, I guess the next thing to talk about would be engine mounting and the position of everything. So I did touch over before, but I've got it all sitting in there now. So I didn't want to spend any money on the engine mounts. So I made the original 380 engine mounts fit in the location of the Mirage. So by doing that, I've got this 20mm plate extension so I could change all the bolt hole positions. And then I've just welded these arms in here to make all that work. So that all sits in there nicely. And the other side, all I had to do is I just had to drill the bolt hole position a little bit higher, and that made that all this mount fit and keep everything level. So I'm pretty happy with that setup. So that's the original body mount and the original 380 mount. All I had to do was trim down here about 10 mil off the tube inside the rubber. So then I've also made my own cross member at the front here to bolt the engine mounts to. I've got a proper spacer plate for when I get the rear mount. That's the only other thing I'm waiting for in parts, so I've just got to get that rear mount sorted. But as you can see, the diff clears and the exhaust clears now after I've taken the heat shield off it, so I don't have to worry about clearancing that. So some mounting of the engine all sorted, and obviously the wheels rotate now, so that side's sorted. So I guess exhaust and radiator. So the plan for the radiator is I bought in my parts list MR2 radiator, which is 350 by 600, which will fit in there, but it is side tanked, so I'm going to have to run some extra pipes across the top of the motor. I'll come up with something. I've got a bit of alley tube lying around, change the outlet position on one side of the radiator, but that radiator also did come with thermos, and it's going to give us the clearance we need. Not running the cross brace in between, which I'll probably just use these bolt holes to mount the radiator anyway. I've got no latch because it was cut at the wreckers when I got the shell. So I've also ordered some bonnet pins. So I'll pin the bonnet, stop that blowing open obviously. So that sorts that problem out as well. So let's see how the budget's going. Well, as I said at the start, I bought the car for $1,500, and including auction fees, we're up to $1,800 for the whole thing. So I have been selling parts off the wreck shell. I'm up to $400 in the green. So I've got $600 left in the budget to spend on the project. Been shopping on eBay, and I bought some wheel flares for $46, an engine mount for $20 that I'm going to cut up and use to make the rear mount for the engine. I've spent $18 on some bonnet pins for obviously not having the bonnet latch, and the big ticket item here would be the radiator. I've spent $185 on an aluminium radiator for an MR2 because it had the right dimensions and it came with thermos. I've also spent $40 on some rack end spacers to space the ends of the rack out, which has left me $291 left in the kitty